In Elden Ring, the Golden Order mirrors one of the most influential works of philosophy, Plato's Republic. In Plato's The Republic, one of his core ideas are the five regimes. These regimes represent different types of government, and Plato believed that they correspond to the different states of our soul. Each regime or government parallels our soul, and these regimes range from the most just to the most corrupt. The five regimes range from most just to most corrupt in this order: aristocracy, timocracy, oligarchy, democracy, and tyranny. To keep this video on track and concise, I'll only be talking about an aristocracy. Two of the remaining four regimes I plan to make a follow-up video on, explaining where we can find them within Elden Ring. Another one of Plato's ideas that is absolutely essential to understanding Plato's ideal city and soul is Plato's belief that the soul is divided into three separate pieces: reason, spirit, and desire. Plato believed that a just soul would be led by reason, with spirit to support it, and desire kept in check. The composition of a just soul would match the composition of a just city, meaning it would be led by reason, supported by spirit, with desire kept in check. What I have just described to you is what Plato called an aristocracy. Plato goes on to describe how the aristocracy will function. He believed the citizens will need to be told a myth. This is called the myth of the metals. In this myth of the metals, every person has a metal mixed into their soul. Gold for the rulers or the philosopher kings, silver for the auxiliaries or warriors, bronze for the producers, the common people. This myth justifies the city's hierarchy, claiming that gods have ordained everyone's role in society. In Plato's mind, this creates harmony as everyone accepts their place based on their natural abilities. In Elden Ring, we see the same structure. Gold, silver, and bronze are prominent metals because Marika's rule reflects Plato's The Republic. The Empyreans are the gold people, representing the philosopher kings and guardians. Godfrey and the other warriors represent the silver people. The common folk, like the merchants and farmers, are the bronze people. Each class has a purpose, and their role is not just based on their abilities, but a divine plan, much like Plato's vision of an ordered society. To tie this neatly together, the composition of your soul correlates to your position in society. A soul led by reason would make you a ruler. You are in the gold class. A soul led by spirit would make you a warrior. You are in the silver class. A soul led by desire would make you a producer. You are in the bronze class. For Plato, justice in the city comes from each class performing its role in harmony. Similarly, a just soul is one where reason rules, spirit supports, and appetite is kept in check. The Golden Order is an aristocracy. Before I go any further, I think I should explain how Godfrey is led by spirit and what Plato means when he says spirit. According to Plato, the spirited part of the soul is the part by which we get angry or into a temper. Ultimately, this is where the emotions are housed. If you recall from early in the video when I spoke about Plato's five regimes, one of them was a timocracy. In a timocracy, the rulers are led by spirit with reason to support it and desire kept in check. A timocracy is a government ruled by warriors where they are driven by honor, martial prowess, and spirit. This is why the divine invocation of the horn scent, the divine warriors, the divine lion dancers all seem to relate to some kind of martial arts or spirituality. The horn scent culture is a timocracy led by spirit. This relates to Godfrey because of the Roar of Regalia incantation, which reads: an incantation of what is jokingly called the Bear Communion channels the power of Regalia, the great red bear. an incantation that is more akin to the divine invocation of the Hornsent than it is to the Dragon Communion. Only through desperate battle with the feral wild can one discover a god unique to oneself. The roar of regalia then links to the glorified attire, which reads, "This garment is made by fabrics of both blue and red patterns. Red pattern fabric were allowed only to those who have hunted bears, the greatest and most glorious of the Highlanders." When you put the roar of regalia and the glorified attire, as well as Horalu's bear-like fighting style, we can deduce that Horalu was most likely a Highlander who sought glory through combat with bears. These are the hallmarks of a timocratic man, a man led by spirit. Interestingly, if you remember the Roar of Regalia's last line, it reads, "Only through desperate battle with the feral wild can one discover a god unique to oneself." This perfectly explains how Horalu became Godfrey. Through his combat with the bear, he displayed himself as a great warrior led by spirit and discovered a god unique to oneself, Marika. Marika as the reason and Godfrey as the spirit supporting her to keep the commoners in check. This is a just city. This is Plato's aristocracy. Let's talk about the philosopher kings, the rulers, the guardians, or as Elden likes to call them, the Empyreans. Plato believed that the ruling class should be guided by reason and should govern with wisdom and justice. Plato goes on to describe how the guardian class should work. Here are a few points that Plato makes about the guardian class. There should be no separate family among the members of the guardian class. The guardian will possess all women and children in common. What this means is the guardians will not have their own family. By not having your own family, you will feel responsible for the entire city and not just for your family. The best guardian men are to procreate with the best guardian women to produce offspring of similar nature. What this means is, when a guardian has a child with another guardian, that child will be a guardian. Once born, the children will be taken away to a rearing pen, to be taken care of by nurses, and the parents will not be allowed to know who their own children are. This is so that the parents will think of all children as their own. This builds upon number one, as Plato doesn't want guardians to have personal loyalties. Guardians will be created through procreation of two guardians. Additionally, auxiliaries, warriors, can be promoted to become guardians. To summarize those points, guardians or Empyreans shouldn't have their own family. When two Empyreans, two guardians, have a child, that child will be a guardian. The guardian child of two guardians should be sent away to be raised and educated in a nursery. This is so they are educated in the ways of wisdom and justice. A warrior led by reason can become a guardian. You can go from the silver class to the gold class. Plato recognized the challenges with this system. If the ruling class can only procreate within itself, it will lead to birth defects. But he believed there needn't be a rule against siblings starting a family. Think it wouldn't pose a major issue. This is reflected with Miquela and Milenia. Both are children of the same god, Radagon and Marika, which leads to their affliction, Miquela being cursed with eternal childhood and Milenia being cursed with rot. Just as Plato suggested, the guardian class selected procreation leads to physical consequences. This leads us to Radagon and Marika. If Miquella and Millennia were born with such afflictions because they are children of a single god, the implication is Radagon and Marika are siblings. Their divine lineage reflects Plato's ideal city, where the ruling class reproduces within itself, further isolating itself from the lower classes. There is one more Empyrean that perfectly fits into Plato's idea of how the guardian class should work. Rani. Plato believed that the guardians should be raised away from their biological parents, educated in the best possible environment to ensure they fulfill their potential. But what if Rani's story aligns with this idea? Consider this. Rani, the daughter of Radagon and Marika, was placed in the amber egg, brought into the marriage between Radagon and Renala, and raised in the academy. Could this be a reflection of Plato's ideal? A guardian educated, removed from personal attachments, and placed in a nursery designed to nurture her into the Empyrean she was destined to become? And perhaps she escaped the afflictions of her siblings because the great rune of the unborn belonged to Rani, allowing her to be reborn without the flaws that her siblings suffer from. Does Rani, in her role as an Empyrean, embody Plato's vision of how guardians should be raised and shaped? Interestingly, based on the shape of the great rune of the unborn, it would belong to a child of Radagon and Marika, and that child would be an Empyrean. Rani is the last Empyrean who is missing her great rune, and she's explicitly said to have had one. It should be noted that Rani is repeatedly called Renala's daughter, but does being called daughter mean you're the biological child of that person? I don't think so. There is a recurring story within Elden Ring of women being called daughter, despite not being biologically related. Characters like Raya, Roderica, Nefelilu, and Millicent. We know none of them are biologically related, yet they still call them daughter. Interestingly, we do not find the same theme applying to sons. In this video, we explored how the Golden Order mirrors Plato's aristocracy, with the Empyreans serving as the guardians in Plato's ideal society. We looked at how the soul is divided into three pieces: reason, spirit, and desire, and how this mirrors the ideal city, being led by reason, supported by spirit, with desire kept in check. We looked at how great warriors like Godfrey are led by spirit, but need reason to become Elden Lord. And implicitly, we learned about the rules that Marika broke, rules that are foundational to the Golden Order and Plato's aristocracy. Rules like having your own family. And in the previous video, we learned how God should never change form, as that implies instability. And yet, Radagon is Marika. Marika had no choice but to fail from the very beginning. Thank you for watching the video.